After months of frustration trying to put a name to this face, a Crime Stoppers tip does just that to detectives Eric McDaniel and Brian Hughes.
We got a tip from 3,000 miles away telling us I know who that is, and that's what started the case going.
The two detectives fly all the way from Portland to North Carolina for a meeting with a sketchy suspect named Victor Lupis, already on probation for assault. It's a long shot. Even if this is their guy, why would he roll over? But it's the only shot they've got.
Even though it's the best thing for him to do to cooperate, that's not the natural reaction for a thief. It's to shut down, deny. And that's exactly what he did. He denied ever being out here.
But cops know differently.
The key point for us is he tells us he's never been farther than the Mississippi River, never been farther west. At the end of the day, when we serve a warrant on his house and find receipts with his name on them and plane tickets to Portland, Oregon, it's not a lot, but you already have him caught in a lie.
And that's how orange literally becomes the new black. Lupis is arrested for the Margulis robbery, and this new orange jail suit replaces the black overcoat he wore the day he took those diamonds and ran. Detective McDaniel cleverly advises Lupis of his very limited options.
Usually, the guy that steps up first and is ready to change his life, it goes easier for him. Right. But you still have to have ownership.
Right. I understand that.
Caught between a rock and a hard place, Lupis begins to tell all. First, he confesses to the Portland robbery.
She put them in my hands, I was looking at them and ran out the front door.
Then he has a few more things to say. Detectives are all ears as Lupis begins to name names.
Yeah, that's Michael Young.
And who's that guy?
Yeah, that's Ernie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ernie Remore?
Yeah.
And that is how detectives learn the identities of all of the other smooth operators in Portland. Remember the so-called risk reducer who wiped the prints away at Margulis Jewelers? Lupis IDs him as the ringleader, Michael Young.
I was freaking out because I hit the handle with my fingers on the way out. So he said he cleaned it of my fingerprints.
So Michael Young cleaned your fingerprints off the door when you hit it going out?
Yeah.
Who's Michael Young? An ex-con who rules with an iron fist. He implies he's part of a crime family and threatens retaliation with those who dare to cross him. Young was also a master manipulator who lured in new recruits like the Pied Piper.
They were living in the nice houses with the bikes, cars, money, promising us the world.
If Michael Young is the CEO, his right-hand man, Ernest Remore, is his CLO, Chief Larceny Officer. The pair, both in their 30s, had tried and failed to steal diamonds before and spent some time in prison for their efforts. This time around, they've taken a more hands-off approach.
One of their ideas is Michael Young and Ernest Remore are going to take themselves out of the actual active role of doing the thefts and stand back and pull the strings.
That business plan opened up entry-level positions for younger guys like Lupis.
I think he was just living a little bit too much of the party life and wanted the quick money.
And others like Trey Adams.
He could never bring himself to do the actual theft of the diamonds, but his big role was to steal cars, usually minivans, and be the getaway driver.
And Jack Cannon, a runner extraordinaire, a man born to steal diamonds. When it comes to stealing hearts, he gives all new meaning to unpolished.
We couldn't find one person in the world, let alone from his family, that likes him, because he's a manipulator and only cares about himself. There's a website dedicated to Jack Cannon about all the girls that hate him.
One of the benefits promised to new recruits at Michael Young Inc. is a company guarantee.
If anything goes wrong, you'll be taken care of. We'll bail you out. We'll take care of your family. We'll buy you a lawyer.
But Lupis finds out the hard way there's no honor among thieves. He's left to rot in jail. So Lupis, feeling double-crossed, begins spinning a tale from the usual suspects. All he's missing is Kevin Spacey's limp.
All right, you all know the drill.
It begins long ago and far from Portland. Lupis tells investigators the gang cut its teeth down in Florida.
I mean, they ran through Florida. I've heard millions of stories.
In Sarasota at Jeweler McCarver and Moser, where Michael Young and company use a creative and cuddly technique.
Each one had its own signature. Each one was kind of unique.
In this case, a lovable Chihuahua is brought in to steal the hearts of employees while the runner steals the diamonds.
They named the dog Roxy and brought the dog in while they committed the theft, left the dog on the counter when they handled the rings and ran out of the store, leaving the dog behind.
Lou Wilson found out the gang's bite is worse than its bark. The Vero Beach jeweler had been in the game for 40 years without ever being robbed. A streak that ended when Trey Adams and Jack Cannon darkened his door.
I was expecting a customer in the store, and my bell rang. Two guys with ball caps and dark glasses were there, and I said, uh-oh.
His next utterance may have been, ah!
Trey had gone in first and came in with the taser and shot the old guy in the chest with the taser.
The guy just pointed a stun gun at my chest and banged me. I shook, but I didn't fall, and then he banged me again, and he banged me a third time, and your legs kind of give out, your whole body just sort of quivers.
The gang could feel Wilson's pain. Weeks earlier, they'd taken turns shooting each other with stun guns just to see what it felt like.
Mr. Young's term for practicing with the taser was to, quote, become one with the taser.
That day in Vero Beach, Cannon and Adams snatch $100,000 in diamonds, but at least they're polite about it.
They start out of the office. He looked back at me, and he said, "I'm sorry, man, but I really need the money." And it was kind of a bizarre thing to say.
When the robbery roadshow comes to Sanibel Island, Young choreographs his most daring getaway yet. There's only one way on and off this popular tourist destination, and that's this 3-mile-long causeway that connects to the mainland. Toll booth photos captured that moment they cross onto the island. No problem if you're on vacation, big problem if you've just ripped off Congress Jewelers in the heart of town.
What made this one unique was, after stealing the diamonds, they had put enough thought into the caper where they believed that the toll booth and the bridge could be used as choke points by the police.
So after Cannon and Trey Adams steal a $190,000 ring in broad daylight, they do what any good pirate would do. They take to the sea. So the guys leave their wash vehicle, a pickup that looks a lot like that one, and since they know they can't go over the bridge, they've got to go under it. Their mode of transportation? Wave running. The aquatic escape allows Cannon and Adams to disappear among a wave of tourists out on the water. They are both good and lucky. The guys are halfway to safety when something happens to the wave runners, and they're left bobbing here in the bay until they get some help from the most unlikely of sources. How do they pay for their rescue? With your tax dollars.
We believe that partway across the channel there, that the jet skis broke down and that the United States Coast Guard helped tow them back to shore.
By now, the crew had amassed a total of nearly $2 million in stolen stones. But they were far from through, and neither is Victor Lupis' story. The Lupis confession spans hours, spinning a tale of 1,001 heists.
We went from one jewelry theft here in the state of Oregon to over 25 in 8 or 9 different states across the country.
The cops better hurry. The Teflon slick diamond rustlers are bringing in their gunslinger, Jack Cannon.
If eyes could kill, I would have been dead right then.